What's going on, guys? This is Zaccari, and today I want to talk about this whole dual Metroid games rumor that has been floating around the internet lately. Straight up, what is most likely, right, is that the next game by probably Retro Studios, who has been in the dark seemingly forever, is in fact a new entry in the Metroid series, but, rumors are suggesting now that perhaps there's another Metroid game in development as well. 2 games, potentially side-by-side releases. After the series has been dormant for so long, could this be? Have our prayers been answered? Before I get more into what I think of this rumor, let me take you back to a video I made in February about what I'd like to see from the Nintendo Switch. But now I think is the time. Nintendo, you want to show us that you're listening to fans, you want to give them what they want. I want to see a Metroid blowout for the Switch. You might say, well, do you want a first-person game like Prime or a classic side-scroller? F that, both. It's been too long at this point to only appease one audience or the other. Sure, I'm going to pop for a new Metroid reveal regardless of the game's style, but I think to make up for lost time, Nintendo fans deserve not one, but 2 Metroid games on the Switch. After that, you can probably see why this rumor doesn't really shock me, as I believe 2 Metroid games is what the fans deserve, and what is Nintendo's best course of action going forward. Now, does this mean I think we'll see 2 brand new Metroid games at E3? Not necessarily. I'd love to, don't get me wrong, but even if 2 Metroid games are in the works, unless they're coming out around the same time, I don't think Nintendo would blow their load on announcing both at the same show. Now sure, they could be coming out around the same time. Perhaps there's a side-scroller that's going to be treated as more of a companion game. Maybe it's the prequel or something, to the main 3D title. It's possible, but I think we'll see this big splash in a different way. The thing that makes the most sense to me right now is a 3D game, something that feels truly AAA. God knows there is no shortage of retro-inspired side-scrollers on the Nintendo platforms. As far as going more into what the game should play like, people have suggested maybe this should sort of be like a Metroid Breath of the Wild, a more open-world game. I think the traditional Metroid style is actually the way to go. Something reminiscent of Prime, with the world as open as it needs to be, some branching paths, backtracking, etc. You see, I'm one of what seems to be an increasingly smaller group of people that doesn't see linear as a bad word. Personally, I'd rather play a 20 or so hour game that's awesome from start to finish over a 70-hour game that's mostly a chore to get through. I'm not saying that's what Breath of the Wild was, just that you have to have sacrifices when you open up a game like that. And similar to the side-scrolling comment I made earlier, I don't think there's a shortage at all of open-world games these days. I want to be thrust into the musty, dark corridors in my Metroid game. The feeling of isolation, to me, is key in these titles. And while I'm on the subject, let's make Samus badass again. None of this taking orders and cowering in fear garbage that we saw in the other M. I want to see a take-charge smasher Samus. If I was planning Nintendo's whole Metroid deal at E3, here's what I would do. I'll give you my play-by-play. To start, cinematic trailer. It's not abundantly clear we're seeing Metroid until Samus comes on the screen. She suits up, and bam, we cut to gameplay. Samus finally running around in HD at 60 frames per second, perhaps? Please, Nintendo, can we do it? So she's blasting people, rolling around in a ball, crowds going nuts. We're doing backflips out of our computer chairs as we watch live. But then, the sadness. 2018 comes up on the screen. Yes, the title is as much as a year away. But wait, this isn't the end. One more thing, guys. Many players may need to get caught up on Samus's adventures up to this point. So we're releasing the Metroid Prime Trilogy in HD, and it's coming this fall. Yeah, if we do see a second Metroid game at E3, I think it will most likely be some sort of re-release or collection. And to me, Metroid Prime Trilogy makes the most sense. Sure, it was released on the Wii, but not in HD. And I mean, if you've played any of those games, I'm sure you'd be eager to see what they would look like with just a simple fresh coat of paint and the HD bump in resolution. To me, this sort of Metroid reveal does two things. One, obviously gives us an amazing title to look forward to, as things are pretty unclear in terms of what we have coming in 2018 for the Switch. And no, I don't see a new Metroid dropping before then to compete with Mario around the holidays. Sure, most of us would love to buy both, but I don't see Nintendo doing that. Also, something like the Metroid Prime Trilogy would help pad the number of releases as we close out the year. I mean, in fall we've got what? Skyrim and Fire Emblem Heroes, I think that's a fall game. I'm pretty excited for anything Fire Emblem, I'll be honest, but I think it would be nice to have something else dropped into this period. Again, and I know some Nintendo fanboys have a hard time understanding this, but options. Having more options is always better. No one likes just having one major game to pick from every couple months. Granted, Xenoblade II is a wild card in my opinion as we get closer to the end of the year. From what I've heard, I believe it's still slated for 2017 release, but given the series' history, I'm not going to believe that until I actually have the game running on my Switch. And of course, alternatively from this, Nintendo could just announce a new Pokemon title for the Switch with a bundle, and then invest in a Scrooge McDuck bank vault, as I think they'll need one whenever they decide to finally make that announcement. No, definitely don't get your hopes up for that. I wouldn't be surprised if Pokemon on Switch gets its own presentation outside of E3, as that title will not need the E3 build-up to cause hype. But yeah, that's what I think. I think it's time a new Metroid game will probably be announced at E3, but as far as a second Metroid title being announced, I think what is most likely is some sort of remaster or collection, and to me, Metroid Prime Trilogy just makes the most sense. Granted, now we're what, less than a month away from E3? Jesus. So, we'll see soon. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know what you think we'll see in terms of Metroid news, or any other news for that matter, from Nintendo at E3 in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to my channel now, and you can say you were a subscriber before it was cool. As always, I'm Zaccari, and thanks for watching.